Tonight, when you turn off the lights and walk down the hallway, something in your chest will tighten for half a second. You will speed up without thinking about it. You have done this your entire life. So has every human you have ever met. That feeling is not a glitch. It is the oldest alarm system in your body. It exists because for hundreds of thousands of years, something was actually there in the dark. Not metaphorically. We have the skulls to prove it. In 1981, a paleontologist named C.K. Brain published a book called The Hunters or the Hunted. He had spent decades studying a cave in South Africa called Swartkrans. Inside, he found the remains of dozens of early humans scattered among the bones of antelopes and other prey. One skull stood out. It belonged to a child, roughly 2 million years old, with 2 small puncture marks on the top of the cranium. Brain measured the distance between those marks. Then he measured the lower canines of a leopard jaw from the same cave. They matched perfectly. That child had been killed by a leopard, carried into a tree, and eaten above the cave. The bones fell in below. Swartkrans was not a home. It was a dining room, and our ancestors were on the menu. But leopards were not the only problem. In 1924, a fossil skull was found near Taung, South Africa. It belonged to a 3-year-old, now called the Taung Child. For decades, scientists assumed a leopard killed it. Then, researchers Lee Berger and Ron Clark looked closer. They found damage on the skull and eye sockets that matched the talon patterns of a large African eagle. Modern crowned eagles still hunt primates this way. They dive from above, drive talons into the skull, and carry the body to a feeding perch. A 3-year-old child weighed about the same as a monkey. To an eagle, there was no difference. Your ancestors did not just fear what was on the ground, they feared what was above them. And then there were the hyenas. Not the spotted hyenas you see in documentaries today. Their larger, cave-dwelling ancestors roamed Europe and Asia for hundreds of thousands of years. They dragged human bodies into caves and cracked the bones for marrow. Sites across Europe contain human remains mixed with hyena gnaw marks. In some caves, humans and hyenas fought for the same shelter. Imagine trying to sleep, knowing the last group to use your cave left human bones on the floor. And it gets worse than that. We like to imagine our ancestors as hunters, spears in hand, chasing prey across the savannah. That image is not wrong, but it is incomplete. For most of our deep past, humans were also hunted. We were not at the top of the food chain. We were somewhere in the middle of it. Modern paleoecology has made one thing clear. Early humans lived inside ecosystems filled with predators that could kill them as easily as any other medium-sized animal. We climbed the food chain slowly, over hundreds of thousands of years. But at night, the climb reversed. In the dark, we dropped back down. Because this is what night meant for most of human history. Your eyes are almost useless in the dark. Humans lack a tapetum lucidum, the reflective layer that gives cats their night vision. A leopard sees roughly 6 times better than you in low light. A hyena can smell a carcass from miles away. An owl can locate prey by sound alone in total darkness. Every predator that hunted your ancestors could operate in the dark. You could not. You were the slowest, weakest, most blind animal in the night. And you were made entirely of meat. So what changed? Fire. Some of the strongest early evidence for controlled fire comes from Wonderwerk Cave, roughly 1 million years ago. Fire did not just cook food or provide warmth. It created a circle of light about 30 feet across. Inside that circle, many predators hesitated. Their eyes, built for darkness, recoiled from the flames. Fire turned darkness into a border. Inside the circle was human territory. Outside the circle was everything else. For the first time in millions of years, the night had a safe zone. And it came with a price. It only worked if someone stayed awake to keep it burning. If the fire died, the border vanished, and the darkness moved in. A 2017 study of the Hadza in Tanzania found something striking. Across any given night, there were only 18 minutes when no one in the camp was alert. 18 minutes out of 8 hours. Researchers call this the sentinel hypothesis. Your ancestors slept in shifts, not because they planned to, but because the ones who all fell asleep at once did not survive. The light sleepers lived, the heavy sleepers became prey. That is natural selection measured in campfire hours. And here's the part that changes how you see yourself. Your fear of the dark is not irrational. It is not childish. It is not a disorder. In 1971, psychologist Martin Seligman proposed something that most people have never heard of. He called it prepared learning. The idea is simple. Humans are biologically prepared to fear certain things more easily than others. Darkness, snakes, heights, open water, enclosed spaces. These fears are learned faster, forgotten slower, and triggered more easily than fears of modern dangers. Cars kill far more people than leopards ever did. Electrical outlets kill more children than eagles. But your brain does not care. It does not update that fast. It is still running threat software written for a world where the dark meant teeth. Scientists tested this. People develop phobias of spiders and darkness in 1 or 2 bad experiences. Phobias of guns and power outlets almost never form, even after direct injury. Your fear system is not reading the modern world. It is reading the ancient one. Even in adults, fear of darkness has not disappeared. Not children, adults. And nearly everyone walks faster in a dark hallway, checks behind a shower curtain, or glances at a window at night without knowing why. You are not being paranoid. You are running a program hundreds of thousands of years old. And it worked. Every ancestor who led to you survived enough nights to pass that alarm forward. Every one of them heard a sound in the dark, felt their chest tighten, and stayed alert long enough to see the sunrise. That is why you are here. So tonight, when you turn off the lights and walk down that hallway and something in your chest tightens for just a moment, you are not being afraid of nothing. You are remembering.